You can be exceptionally careful when working with pesticides, but sometimes things happen, such as pesticide spills, fires, or flooding in the storage area. During this presentation, we'll address ways to prepare for and respond to these emergency situations. The backbone to responding to emergency situations is having an emergency response plan, a pre planned set of steps of what to do should a fire or spill occur, and a person to coordinate the efforts. Here's a great example. This is a newspaper article about an incident that occurred in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't believe it turned out to be caused by stored pesticides, but it was a fire in a maintenance storage area. The firefighters complimented the maintenance staff for responding quickly and correctly by finding the location of the fire, closing the storage area door to keep it from spreading, and pulling the fire alarm. Their actions prevented further injury and damage. That was a perfect example of the benefits of having an emergency response plan so you can respond quickly and correctly to pesticide related emergencies. An emergency response plan includes a person who's been designated as the emergency coordinator. This is the go to person who has the authority to make decisions during an emergency. They'll be in charge of contacting first responders and completing any incident or loss reports, taking pictures of the emergency situation, or contacting lawyers if needed. It's also important to create a list of names and phone numbers of response agencies to notify. This list should be posted in the office or other prominent areas at the worksite. As is described in the National Core Study Guide, the list of emergency response contacts posted in the office should include people or agencies required to be notified by local, state, and federal requirements, local emergency planning committees, police and fire units, paramedics and area hospitals, appropriate chemical manufacturers and dealers, containment and hazardous waste cleanup contractors, and an attorney to protect your rights and the rights of others. It's also beneficial to post general emergency numbers in several areas, such as storage, mixing, and loading areas, the break room, main office, and truck glove compartments for employees to access if needed. On this slide, you'll see the National Poison Control Center number and the state regulatory agency's pesticide hotline numbers for agricultural and structural pesticide emergencies. Knowing which pesticides you have in storage and the quantities will be extremely helpful for the response teams to more easily assess the situation and the hazards they might face when responding. While it's much easier to keep track of pesticide inventory when the list of pesticides is in a binder or on a clipboard inside the area where the pesticides are located, for emergency situations, it is necessary to also have a backup copy in the office in case something happens inside storage that damages or destroys the inventory list. A good way to prevent hazards in the first place is to buy only the amount of pesticides you need for a period of time, so you don't have a lot of excess pesticides you might not use. Some containers have expiration dates. Check those dates and use your older products first. Try to use up all products within 3 years of purchase. A good tracking system is to pull the older products up to the front of the shelves and place the newer products in the back. This is the system they use for perishable food products in the grocery store. People grab and use the soon to expire products first because they're in the front. In addition to the copies of labels, SDS, and emergency numbers, there are a few more items you need to have available outside your storage area and near the mixing and loading site. These include sufficient lighting so you can see the documents and emergency numbers, water, soap, and towels for decontamination, a fire extinguisher, and spill cleanup materials. It's okay to have a fire extinguisher and spill cleanup materials inside as well, as long as that isn't the only location. Imagine if these items were only located inside your storage, you would have to walk through the fire or spill in order to get them. On that note, we're now going to talk about how to respond to pesticide spills. If you recall during the pesticides in the environment presentation, we talked about cleaning up a liquid pesticide spill in the soil. During this session, you'll see a video on how to respond to a liquid pesticide spill on concrete. I'll provide a handout that contains steps for responding to different types of spills, including dry pesticide spills on concrete and spills on public roadways. You've probably heard of the three C's: control, contain, and clean up. As you see on this slide, you control the spill and protect yourself from exposure to the pesticide by putting on the correct PPE. Contain the spill to prevent it from spreading out over a larger area, and you clean up the pesticide using the appropriate cleanup materials. In a real-life situation, you'll need to assess and respond quickly to the greatest emergency. Is the pesticide going to run down the drain? Did it spill in a road and is creating a problem for traffic? And are bystanders rushing toward the scene? Let's assume you have a manageable liquid spill on concrete. Which of these four should you use first to contain the spill to prevent it from spreading? The water and mop, the spill pig, non-clumping cat litter, or water from a hose? The non-clumping cat litter will work well to prevent the spilled pesticide from spreading out further. There are also spill containment pigs, such as the yellow object outlined in blue, which could be another great first choice. It is true you might need to use a hose and cleaning solutions at some point after you absorb and clean up the spilled material. However, it's important that you don't hose down the spill initially, as it would just spread it around. Read the label in SDS as well. There might be very specific instructions to follow or materials to use for cleaning up a particular product. Here's a list of suggested items to have in a spill cleanup kit. You can also buy duffel bags pre-packed with spill cleanup items. This is a great solution for pesticide handlers who travel to different sites each day, such as people who work for landscaping companies, parks and recreation departments, municipalities, departments of transportation, or forestry programs. The spill cleanup duffel bags are portable and make it easy to keep spill cleanup items protected in your work trucks. Let's take a look at this video.
Oh no, the spill just occurred. First thing to do, personal protective equipment. Make sure you have your personal protective equipment on before you start doing any of the cleanup procedures. You have to protect yourself or you become a victim. Control is as simple as standing up the backpack. Then you want to make sure you rope off the area. We happen to use this caution tape to rope off the area, and it alerts people that there's something going on over here and they need to keep out of the area. So we take and we stretch the caution tape around the area so that we can work on cleaning the spill up unabated. First thing you see I'm doing here is covering this drain to prevent any more pesticides from going down in the drain and contaminating any water sources. Then I'm going to take my kitty litter that's in this bucket and I'm going to spread it around the drain to prevent any more liquids from going down in there. Then I'm going to absorb the liquid material with the remainder of the kitty litter that I have. And as you can see in this video, we're showing you how the liquid material is being absorbed by the kitty litter all the way up to where the source of the spill occurred. All right, now that we've absorbed the material with the kitty litter, we're going to sweep it up. And the way we're going to do this first is we're going to start right at the drain and we're going to sweep all the kitty litter that has a pesticide in it up into a pile. And then we're going to take and we're going to remove the mat. We're going to take that and set that to the side so that we can decontaminate it when we get to that step. Then we're going to go back and we're going to finish cleaning up the rest of this stuff and shoveling it up into the bucket. And then we're going to make sure we do a good job of getting all this material up. It's pretty easy to do it off of concrete, which is not as porous as asphalt. It's a little bit tougher when you try to get it off asphalt. Now you take some soap, mix it in a bucket with some water, and then you're going to pour this on the site of the spill. This is what we're going to use to decontaminate this site. According to the MSDS sheet, it said to use a strong detergent to decontaminate the site. That's what we're doing. Then you're going to take your broom and you're going to work this in. Now you can use a scrub brush if you have one, but a broom works just as well. We're going to work it into the pore surface where this pesticide was spilled. Then we're going to take our absorbent material and we're going to absorb this material up as well, because there may be pesticide residue even with the soapy water. So we want to absorb all this material, and then we're going to scrape it all up. We're going to scoop it up, And we're going to clean it up as well, just like we did with the pesticide absorbent material. Once we've swept it all up and shoveled it all up, we're going to put it into a separate bucket that we brought with us, and we're going to put it in there, and then we're going to label that bucket, and then that site is decontaminated.
This was taken from the National Pesticide Safety Training Manual produced by the Pesticide Educational Resources Collaborative. It contains steps for cleaning up liquid spills on concrete and in soil, dry formulations on concrete, and spills on public roadways. Sometimes you'll have much larger emergency situations, like flooding inside the storage area. What should you do if your storage area is flooded? Before entering the storage area, put on gloves, boots, a chemical-resistant apron, eye protection, and respiratory protection. Assume standing water is hazardous and don't allow it to contact your skin. Be cautious as water may contain a mixture of different pesticides, basically like a tank mix. If damage is minor, clean up spills and place damaged packages in secondary containers, like drums or heavy plastic bags. If flooding is severe and/or hazardous, call a hazmat team to respond. It's important to protect yourself from exposure, and always report the damage to the appropriate agencies. What about fires? How should you respond to those? What about fires? How should you respond? The study guide includes more preventative and storage measures than guidelines on how to respond to a pesticide-caused fire. That's because it's a dangerous situation, and in reality, the best response is to let the professionals at the fire department respond. However, what really stands out in the study guide are the following suggestions. Evacuate all employees to a designated area. Notify the fire department. Establish a security perimeter to discourage onlookers. Build a berm to contain runoff water and leaking pesticides on site. Consult with emergency responders to decide whether to let it burn out. And don't go back to the site until you get clearance and everything is cooled. Any debris can still be hazardous.